The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Once one of the most electrifying wide receivers in the NFL, Antonio Brown's post-gridiron life has turned into a saga of violence and evasion. On May 16th, during a celebrity boxing event in Miami, Brown allegedly grabbed a handgun from a security staffer and fired 2 shots at a man he had previously fought. One bullet allegedly grazing the victim's neck. The incident triggered an international manhunt. Brown fled to Dubai only to be arrested by U.S. Marshals and extradited back to the United States to face a second-degree attempted murder charge carrying up to 15 years in prison. As he sits in custody, the question looms: how did a football legend become the center of a courtroom showdown over gunfire and escape? Meanwhile, in Las Vegas, the brutal death of 46-year-old Jonathan Willett stunned even seasoned detectives. Found in August of 2023 with his body decapitated and chemically burned, Willett had been romantically involved with actress-turned-adult performer Devin Michaels. Together, they were raising 2 young girls until they broke up when Devin started seeing Jonathan's son from another mother, who Devin then married. Prosecutors say Devin killed Jonathan, but she's pointing the finger at Deviere, who is Jonathan's son and her husband. What does the evidence prove? Tonight, we break it down. But first, Maria Perez arrived at a home in Whitestown, Indiana, just before sunrise. She was there with her husband. They have a cleaning business and were getting ready to enter the home with a set of keys so they could do their job. But there was one big problem. They were at the wrong house. What happened next was tragic and fatal. Standing by the front door, a deafening shot tore through that door and struck Maria in the head. Her husband watched the horror unfold, unable to save her. The sun had barely climbed above the rooftops when help showed up. Now the DA must decide whether or not to charge the homeowner after looking at the facts of the case and Indiana's Castle Doctrine laws. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And this story has struck a chord. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone is scratching their heads wondering how this all happened and why it happened. I want to back things up a little bit, though. This is a case where, yeah, we've got facts, but we've also got to evaluate the law in this one. So let's start with the word homicide. The word homicide, you think about it, you think, okay, a homicide, that's a crime, right? We charge people with homicide. Well, homicide technically is death at the hands of another, which means one person's death is due to the actions of another person. That's a homicide. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's a crime, but sometimes it's not. It can be a justifiable homicide. For instance, the case of Kyle Rittenhouse. Remember him? Self-defense is what the jury said, is what he argued, and they agreed. Kyle Rittenhouse was chased through the streets and turned and fired at people who were throwing things at him. Someone brandished a weapon at him, and the jury looked at the video, and the jury said, that's self-defense. That's homicide. He took their lives, but it was justifiable homicide. Classic self-defense. And we see a lot of cases like that here on Court TV. Now, there's another wrinkle to all of that, and a lot of people look at the state of Florida and the stand your ground laws and say, okay, well, what is that? That's just like a whole brand new law. Well, not really, not really. It's based in self-defense, and stand your ground is a way to prevent people from being prosecuted when they have justifiably killed someone. And a judge makes that determination before a jury even gets the case. That's what stand your ground is about. Also keeps them from being sued civilly. But stand your ground applies to when you are anywhere other than your home or your car. You are out in the street, you are at the park, and someone attacks you. Someone is coming after you, and you are defending yourself. Stand your ground means I don't have to run away from him and look for safety. If I'm allowed to be here, I'm allowed to stay here, and I'm allowed to defend myself. And that's where stand your ground applies. But before stand your ground was ever part of the statutes and codes in certain states like Florida and like Indiana, there was something else that became very prevalent in the 80s. It's called the castle doctrine. And this is when you're in your own house, like your own castle. You don't have to go anywhere. You can stand, it's standing your ground, but you're in your house, and they also apply it usually to your car. But I'm in my house. You break in, you threaten me, I don't have to go anywhere. I can defend myself and my home and my family and my safety. And that's the castle doctrine. I mean, it comes from like old common law from years ago all the way across the pond over in England. It's an ability to defend yourself in your own home. And one of the reasons this became important is, people were breaking into homes, and the homeowner defending themselves against it, and then the person who broke in ends up suing the homeowner. Like, there were cases like that years ago. And then we have the castle doctrine. So all of this is relevant in the case that we're going to talk about tonight, which is incredibly tragic. A woman and her husband have a cleaning company, and they're going to clean one of the homes. They have the address. They go to the front door, and the wife, who's a mother, is shot and killed by the homeowner who's on the other side of the door. Meredith Hackler from Scripps News Group spoke with the family.
I'm your Boone County community reporter, Meredith Hackler, and Maria Florinda Rios Perez was a mother, a wife, and a sister. Her family is now seeking justice after she showed up to clean a home but was given the wrong address here in Whitestown. According to her husband, Mauricio Velasquez, he and his wife had been cleaning homes for 7 months. He says he double-checked the address before they arrived at the home where his wife was shot and killed in the Heritage subdivision of Whitestown. I never thought it was a shot, but I realized when my wife took 2 steps back, she looked like she'd been hit in the head. She fell into my arms, and I saw the blood. It went everywhere. The couple has 4 children. Their youngest is only 11 months old. Now, Mauricio has to raise his family as a single father. What I need now is for there to be justice because he took her life in that sense. I don't believe that's human. He's an animal, a dog, a deer, to kill in that way. Now, I am a father and mother for my children, for my daughters, and he's happy at home. Nicole Armenta of Whitestown started the GoFundMe for the family. They want to have Maria buried in her home country of Guatemala. She says she does not know the family, but wants the family to be able to access the thousands of dollars in donations that have already come in.
It gives me hope for humanity, I guess, in a sense, to know that there's so many people out there that have compassion for others, even when they don't know them.
In Whitestown, I'm your Boone County community reporter, Meredith Hackler, WRTV.
I want to fill in some more of the facts and circumstances surrounding what happened that morning. This is from the Indy Star report. Mauricio Velasquez, as the husband said, he checked the location of the address twice, drove around the subdivision once to confirm he and his wife were at the right home. The couple's self-employed house cleaners approached the 2-story home on the quiet street before dawn. Velasquez was looking for the correct key on her ring, and Maria jokingly told her husband he was losing his sight and took the keys from his hands. She didn't even put the key in when I heard the shot happen, Velasquez told the Indy Star. I saw my wife had stepped back twice, then the keys dropped, then she dropped. I went to catch her. I was trying to console her and tell her everything was going to be okay, but I was seeing blood come out. Just after 6:45 a.m., Whitestown Metro Police received a 911 call about a suspected home invasion on Mays Lane in the Heritage, a Whitestown subdivision. There, officers found the 32-year-old mother of four on the porch of the home. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, some more facts surrounding this. We got this from almanac.com, which gives us when the sunrise that morning. The call came at 6:45. On that Wednesday, November 5th, in Indianapolis, which is like 20 miles away, sunrise was at 7:18. So again, before dawn, it was still dark out that morning when the shot was fired. Now, as far as the investigation, here's what we're learning from the Boone County Prosecutor's Office, because they're the ones ultimately have to make the decision here on what to do, right? The police are investigating, gathering up facts. Prosecutors have to take those facts and figure out what to do. So the Boone County Prosecutor's Office has received the initial investigative report and evidence from the Whitestown Metro Police concerning the fatal shooting of Maria. We anticipate this review will take several days. Once complete, we will announce our decision on how we intend to proceed. This is likely to occur by the end of this week or early next week. We've been in regular contact with the Rios family and their legal representative, and will keep them informed throughout the process. Indiana's stand your ground law and the unique circumstances of this case make a careful, detailed review essential before determining what steps we may take next. Under the Indiana Rules of Professional Conduct, we cannot discuss specific evidence or speculate. When we are legally permitted to share more, we will do so. The police addressed a rumor, a local rumor, that the homeowner was a police officer. And they said, no, not a police officer, absolutely not a member of law enforcement. Now, let's get to some of the law in Indiana. You know, cases like this, it's very specific to the state and what sort of standards that each state has. There are, little differences that can be a big difference. In Indiana, under the Code Title 35, in enacting this section, the General Assembly finds and declares that it is the policy of this state to recognize the unique character of a citizen's home and to ensure that a citizen feels secure in his or her own home against unlawful intrusion by another individual or a public servant. Then it goes on in another part, a person is justified in using reasonable force, including deadly force, against another person and does not have a duty to retreat. Again, this is Castle doctrine, stand your ground doctrine, which is similar, but this would be Castle because he's in his home. If the person reasonably believes that the force is necessary to prevent or terminate the other person's unlawful entry of or attack on the person's dwelling, curtilage, or occupied motor vehicle. Obviously, this is a dwelling. And here's sort of a summary of the Indiana Castle Doctrine. For the use of force, especially deadly force, to be justified under Indiana's Castle Doctrine and self-defense laws, the individual, this would be the homeowner's belief in the necessity of that force to prevent serious harm or a forcible felony must be genuinely held. That means a homeowner has to believe in his own mind that this force is necessary, and it's something that a reasonable person would have believed in the same situation. So he has to actually believe it, and then you have to look at the situation as a jury or as a judge and say, okay, would a reasonable person think the same thing? So I hope that makes sense, because if it doesn't, we've got some folks who are going to help us. Our think tank joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III, along with criminal defense attorney Darnell Crossland and family law attorney Jennifer Brandt. Great to see everyone. I know we all agree this is an absolute horrific tragedy. Our job, our mission right now is to debate or perhaps agree on whether or not this is a crime, whether this is a justifiable homicide or a criminal homicide. Al, get us rolling, then everybody else jump in.
Well, you know, Vin, it strikes me as being somewhat similar to that Perfect Neighbor case that we covered. And in that case, the fact that the woman was outside the door was locked, the door wasn't opened, there was no breaking of the threshold, there was no one entering in. That woman ended up getting convicted of manslaughter in that case. I don't see that this is justified by any stretch of the imagination. I am appalled about, you know, how someone shoots first, asks questions later. I mean, why wouldn't you give a warning to someone? Listen, I have a gun. Do not come in, or something along those lines. You just fire. Okay, this is absolutely horrific. I hope that they do prosecute this woman or man, whoever was the one that shot this poor lady, who all she was doing was going to a house to do a job. Okay, it was not meant to be. And if we're going to be using this law to extenuate the circumstances where you can fire through a door, a closed door, okay, where does that bullet go? The bullet goes into the neighborhood. If it doesn't hit the woman in front of her, who knows who they could have hit? Some kid riding his bike as he's driving by the house? This is absolutely upsetting to me. And they better prosecute under this. There's no reason for this woman to be dead. There's no reason for these kids not to have their mother. There's no reason for this man not to have his wife. And all they're trying to do is make a living. Absolutely not justified by any stretch of the imagination.
Vinny, I think that Al is making a lot of assumptions here, and we can all agree this is a horrible situation and it should have never happened. But you also have to look at whether this was reasonable from the point of view of the homeowner and what others would think is reasonable at the time. I mean, it's dark out. The homeowner is not expecting anyone to come to their house. These people were unfortunately at the wrong home. And they hear people outside of the house. We have to establish, did they knock at the door? Did they just attempt to, take out keys and try to get into the house? The homeowner had called the police. The homeowner was obviously scared. We don't know the circumstances of who was in the house, their condition, whether or not, what they heard, what's been going on in the neighborhood or anything. I mean, Al is making all these assumptions that it's absolutely wrong, but he's not in that situation. Neither are we. So we can sit back now and say this was horrible and wrong, and perhaps it was, but I think you have to look at the totality of the circumstances. If it was a slam dunk, the prosecutor would have already pressed charges, but they're thinking about it. They're considering the whole investigation. So I don't think we can immediately jump to conclusions. We can all say this was a tragic occurrence for sure. And this woman, this poor woman, is dead for no reason. But how that came about, I don't think we can immediately assume that it was a criminal act or that this person, did the wrong thing at the time. They may have just panicked.
Word to the wise, don't trick or treat at Jen's house. She's going to fire first. This store is closed, Jennifer.
It's not about
closed.
Me, Al. It's about what was going on in this case. It's not about, it's not about me. You're making all these assumptions like you don't know anything about this. You're just making assumptions.
No, the door was closed. The door was closed.
So guys, listen. What I don't disagree with is an investigation. Investigations have their purpose. And so I agree with Al on the general idea here. I would agree with Jen that we have to investigate. But what I will say to you is that there's always a legislative intent behind the Castle Doctrine or any other doctrine. What was the legislative intent? And I can't imagine that the legislative intent was to have you think that it's reasonable to hear sounds outside your door and to start firing through the door. As Al said, you could hit the neighbor across the hall, you could hit children. This was a house, but it could have been a building in the same state. What we also remember from law school is that we have levels. We have a trespasser, an invitee, or a licensee. And those people are like the UPS people might be a licensee, the FedEx people might be a licensee, an invitee might be someone you invite over, and then the lowest level is a trespasser. So we have to juxtapose those doctrines with this so-called stand your ground and castle doctrine. At the end of the day, I could have been coming over to deliver something, as Al, I think, alluded to, or whatever. I could have been, you know, a lot of these people deliver early in the morning before the sun come up. That's why we enjoy our cup of coffee with a newspaper, because they're up all night, as Al said, working. So you can't think you hear somebody outside. The lady said,
well, he definitely heard someone outside. Like, he definitely heard someone outside. That's why he fired the gun. All right, keep it there, folks. We're out of time for that right now. Al didn't like that. I cut him off. Do you see that? All right. When we come back, and obviously we're going to stay on this story because we're going to get an answer from the prosecutor soon. When we come back, we're going to take you out to Vegas for the Love Triangle beheaded trial, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a mother's cross-country drive ends in heartbreak and mystery. Melody Buzzard vanished, and now her mom is under arrest but won't talk. Where is Melody? Tonight, we investigate.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Did you ever tell your dad that you had been having a sexual relationship with the father of his other children?
With the mother, you mean?
The mother. Jesus, I said father. Yeah.
No, sir.
I apologize. Knowing your dad as you did, if he had known you were having a sexual relationship with his mother of his children, is he the type of guy that would have just said nothing and let it go?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you never tell him. I don't want to ask an obvious question, but why not?
I couldn't build up the courage to do it.
It's a whodunit. That's what this case is in Vegas, but let's look at the who's first who are involved here. There's really three people involved in this case, okay? You're looking at all three. All the way to the right of the screen, that's the victim, John Willett. Brutally murdered, decapitated, found by his mom, killed, murdered in his bed. Now, he's got his arms around the mother of his children, at least two of his children, two of his daughters, right? Young, they're like tweens, right? So that's who he has his arms around. And then the third wheel in all of this with the white shirt, that's John, who is the victim. That's his son from another mother. So John never married Devin, who was the woman in the middle, but despite the fact they didn't marry her, they sort of lived sort of as a family. So she's sort of a quasi-stepmom to Devier, who is the guy, his son, all the way on the left. But in the end, what happens is she does get married, but she marries Devier, John's son, making her daughters also her sister-in-laws. That's the backdrop here. So today they're trying to prove that she is responsible for all this. The defense saying, no, it wasn't her, it was Devier. So she's pointing the finger now at her husband, the victim's son from another mother. So today a lot of phone evidence, trying to use the cell phones to track who was there at the time of the killing. Take a look.
You are aware that there was an interview conducted with the defendant prior to your involvement?
Yes.
And this second interview, your first,
Yes.
was that investigative type, open-ended, like, hey, give us any information you deem relevant kind of thing?
Correct.
Now, during the course of this first interview you're involved in, we heard a little girl's voice approach. Is that correct?
It is.
Describe that, what happened, and what that meant to you.
So while we were interviewing Miss Michaels, we are engaged in our conversation. To be honest with you, I'm not sure which of the daughters, their names I still get mixed up. She had approached the window and she has the cell phone that we believe is the one we previously saw in the driveway. And she says, "Mommy, here's Daddy's cell phone." That's why he didn't answer. There was a physical reaction from from Devin, and she takes the phone, she hands it to us, and she made a comment, "This should help you." And then that's pretty much changed the tone a little bit to casual conversations to then it became a little bit more flustered.
Okay. And is it at that point where you noticed the blood on the phone?
Correct.
Earlier on in the interview, you had confronted the defendant about the bloody phone, correct?
Yes.
And what was her general response with regard to that?
As far as the acknowledgement of the phone,
Yes.
she was surprised about the phone being at the residence.
Okay.
And it really threw her off when her daughter handed her the phone, and it changed the tone of our interview.
With regard to the victim's phone, did you ultimately learn that was in fact his blood and DNA, the victim's, on that phone?
Yes, I did.
Did you ultimately learn from other sources, not the defendant, but other sources, when John's phone was last at his home and when it left?
Yes. So one of my partners had authored a search warrant for Google. We had also done some call data records as well, but the Google itself came in quite a bit later. So this is something that we found out after the crime, obviously, and after all the interviews had been settled. But we noted that the return showed that John's phone was at the home on Paladura, which is where he resides, from 10 o'clock till it began to travel or move at about 2:04 a.m.
And what else traveled or moved at 2:04 a.m.?
So I'm not sure exactly what's been testified to yet, but at 2:04 is when it's alleged that Devin left the home. She traveled. We have her cell phone or CDR records, as well as the Burla, which, again, I'm not sure if that's been testified to. That is the infotainment system that we authored a search warrant on. It shows those three devices together in a companion movement all the way back to Porcupine Rim.
So 3 devices, meaning the Nissan itself, the defendant's cell phone, and the victim's cell phone as well.
That's correct.
Darnell Crossland, is that the smoking cell phone?
They tend to rely a lot on the cell phone technology, but I don't think the police are exact experts on this, and there's case law that show, although you can have police testimony about cell phones, you really have to have a cell phone expert come in and break down the nuances. So how smoking it is, I don't know, but it's definitely a good starting point.
Yeah, well, you've got the victim's cell phone with his blood on it at the defendant's home, with the defendant's daughter handing it over, unbelievably, but it's also traveling from the crime scene with the defendant's cell phone, Jennifer, and the defendant's vehicle. Like, 1 + 1 + 1 equals what? Guilty?
It seems that way, Vinny. It seems that, why else would the phone be traveling around? And it seemed very coincidental that it was with her in her vehicle, and also this bloody phone, found at the home. So it sounds pretty convincing. That doesn't sound good for her, let's put it that way.
Yeah, Al, they want to point the finger at the stepson husband, but it's her cell phone and the victim's cell phone.
Vin, kids do the darndest things, huh? Handing over the cell phone, just like, hey, look, it's right here. So it's one of those remarkable things. And this is like a bad country song. I mean, I can now, if the kid ratting out her mother, her sister, the murderer of her grandfather, or the murderer of her father, or the murderer of her stepfather. I mean, there's so many different variables in this case, but the bottom line is that, they've got some good evidence on her. But the one thing that just doesn't sit well with me is she's not a big girl. And this guy, the dad, okay, is a big guy. How did she carry him, cut off the head, and then move on? I just find it to be very, very difficult that she would have been able to do this all on her own. Regardless of the phone situation, something isn't right. And putting the finger on the son/husband is absolutely the right move. I know Darnell would agree on that one also, that you got to do that. You got to point it that way. But the situation is clear. How does she get this body out? Thank you. And how did she get this body out? And how does she have it decapitated? Where is the saw? Where is the weapon? Where is anything along those lines? None of that's clear.
Jennifer, I'm getting the feeling that we may have to send Al and Darnell out on a second date after the show tonight.
I know they're really getting along tonight. It's a little bit strange, Vinny. I don't know what's in the air, but
it's really weird. It's really weird. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Darnell, let me ask you, if in fact the jury believes that she didn't do it alone, and they think that her husband / former stepson, common law stepson, was involved, does it matter to the jury? Would it stop them from convicting if they believe that Deviere was also in on this?
No, because I think that you can have one person charged with a crime, wholly responsible for that crime. A co-conspirator could also be charged. So it's not like they need another person in order to find her guilty. But if it was a third-party culpability type thing, where if it was raised that I didn't do this, someone else did it, and they believe that, then they won't find her guilty. Yeah. But I don't think they need him to find her guilty.
Yeah, most people are looking at it the way I think you guys are. There could be more than one person in this whole thing. But again, the most shocking part is that they keep agreeing, Jennifer.
I know. Something's wrong, Vinny. Something's wrong tonight.
Something's wrong. All right. Stay where you are, folks.
I'm trying to get to crime. I'm trying to get to crime con.
Yeah. Up next, Antonio Brown, NFL legend. What a great player he was. Rough times now down in Miami. We'll tell you what's happening.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
This is Antonio Brown. Some action shots when he was a Pittsburgh Steeler, some of the best days of his career. I mean, he was the best in the league at what he did, and he made over $80 million during his career. But those images you're looking at there are much different than the new football card that he has. Let's take a look at it, folks. Fresh out of Miami. This is this may be from New Jersey. This is a mugshot. Out of Essex County, New Jersey, my old stomping grounds. He's been arrested and accused of attempted murder for something that happened at a celebrity boxing event. So let's get some more details on that. Here in studio with us is Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. All right, Cody, where was he? What was he doing? What happened that night?
Down in Miami, Vinny. I mean, again, we're talking about 7-time Pro Bowler, more than 80 receiving touchdowns in his career, probably a future Hall of Famer. Down in Miami attending this celebrity boxing event. Celebrity, like social media influencers, streamers, YouTubers, things of that nature. He was just attending the event, particularly put on by the streamer Aiden Ross, who has millions of followers across the internet. Now, this altercation, everything took place outside of this boxing event. Antonio Brown gets into a scuffle, a pretty big fight with a couple of men. It's all caught on camera because it's a streaming event, everybody's cell phone. They all got all different angles of the fight.
Is it clear who started the fight?
Not clear.
Okay.
When it picks up, you just see the fight is going on, type of deal. But we're going to break the video down. Each of the fight, the shooting, everything to do with the video from all different angles. Let's first look at the fight. Now, this clip was posted during a live stream to the platform Twitch by streamer Julia Filippo, who was there at the event. Let's take a look at the fight. So you saw the fight there. That was a pretty big scuffle. That was pretty, I mean, there was multiple people involved and multiple people filming, and you saw Antonio Brown come up behind that girl, the streamer, Julia Filippo. It looked like he was reaching for something in that clip. So that was the fight, Vinny. That's what got the ball rolling here. Now let's get to the shooting. There's no doubt that there was a shooting. It's just whether it was done maliciously or not. So in this next clip, this is just seconds after the fight we just saw. You kind of see one of the parties in the fight retreating, one of the people that was not Antonio Brown. And then you see Antonio Brown kind of jogging towards this tunnel, and then you hear 2 shots ring out. And now this clip was posted to X by user Simo Sadi. Let's take a look at the shooting. You heard those 2 shots.
Yeah, you could hear it.
They're shooting.
But it's
happened.
after they leave that tunnel.
After they leave that tunnel. But you see Antonio jogging up. It seems like the threat might have been gone, but so that might be a legal battle he has to cross once the trial comes. But Vinny, we have a still image from that same video that I want to take a look at here. It's been circulating the internet. They froze it there when he was jogging. We have it circled. People on the internet are saying that's what looks like the gun in his hand coming out of his left hand. No official reporting that that is the gun, but, you know, it's just circulating the internet, people having speculation.
Sure.
But, Vinny, soon after all this, same night, Antonio Brown goes on to join the streamer Aiden Ross on his live stream that was posted to the platform Kick. Now, in this clip, you see Antonio Brown with his shirt off. He seems a little out of breath. He's talking about the fight that just took place minutes before, and he's also seemingly joking about the neurological disorder CTE that we see, you know, most football players experience either during or after their careers.
Right.
We have a clip posted from that stream. This was posted to X by the account Video Mixtape, but again, originally posted to Aiden Ross's account on Twitch. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, I got CT. I blacked out. I don't know why. I blacked out, dude. I blacked out, Aiden.
I know you did.
I know what happened.
I know. Your eyes, man. They thought you was getting jumped, so he tried to like pull y'all apart.
I slammed the again.
And you kicked him in his.
Yeah.
He was like, "What the?" I was trying to help.
I was like, "Oh." He would run through anybody when you used to play. Just saying, bro. Security not gonna hold AB back, bro.
What's interesting about that clip, Vinny, that stream is no longer, the recording of that stream is no longer posted on Aiden Ross's Kick account. So it's been taken down now.
It's evidence.
Exactly. So you heard one of those guys in that stream mention, we thought you were getting jumped. So the next day, this is May 17th of this year, Antonio Brown goes on X to post about it. And he says, regarding the boxing event that happened last night, I was jumped by multiple individuals who tried to steal my jewelry and cause physical harm to me. Contrary to some video circulating, police temporarily detained me until they received my side of the story and then released me. I went home that night and was not arrested. I will be talking to my legal counsel and attorneys on pressing charges on the individuals that jumped me. So, Vinny, we see here, almost immediately after the next day, he's proclaiming his innocence, and he still is, despite being recently arrested here.
Right. So, he says he's the victim.
Right. He's not the aggressor. He got attacked, is what he's saying.
All right. He was arrested, though. He wasn't in the United States anymore.
No, he's halfway around the world in Dubai. He was arrested a few days ago. Police say they tracked him down through his social media posts. And anybody that knows Antonio Brown, anybody that knows AB, knows he's very active on social media with all of his antics. Now, this arrest came 5 months or so after the initial warrant was issued for his arrest. Now, he was apprehended in Dubai, extradited back to the U.S., Newark, New Jersey. That's where he got the mugshot there. Extradited from Newark down to Miami-Dade, where he's still sitting behind bars right now. No reports of him bonding out.
And what's his legal team saying?
So he's represented by Mark Eiglarz, veteran attorney, veteran legal analyst. No
guest of the show.
No stranger to the show. Now, Eiglarz has entered a not guilty plea on Brown's behalf. He's also demanded a trial jury, and he's requested all evidence in the case. And he also gave us a written statement that says here, quote, I took this case because I passionately believe in Brown's defense. The actions he was forced to take were solely in self-defense against the alleged victim's violent behavior. Brown was attacked that night and acted within his legal right to protect himself from an individual who previously committed criminal acts against him. It's a privilege to represent him, and I am determined to ensure that justice is served. And Vinny, I also have a post that's pinned to the top of Antonio Brown's X page. It was posted on the 6th. And just for our viewers' context, Antonio Brown has this play on the disorder CTE, where he has this trend on his page called CT ESPN Sports, the disorder. Don't know exactly what it means by that, just to give some context. The post says, handed over the keys to the socials and CT ESPN to my team while I go through this fight for my innocence. Happy to showcase love and entertainment. All love and respect to everyone for the support. Hashtag free AB. So if convicted, Vinny, you know, 15 years behind bars.
No, it's real time.
$10,000 fine. We'll have to see how it plays out in court.
All right. Cody Thomas, thanks so much. Let's bring back in our think tank Al Watch, Darnell Crosslane, and Jennifer Brandt. We only have a few minutes here. Jennifer Brandt, start us off.
Well, Vinny, I mean, I think there's a lot of evidence here. We have that videotape, which is really telling, and the circle of the gun. I mean, yeah, if he was jumped, it could have happened, but it seems like everyone retreated and then he ran and got a gun and you heard the shot. So I think it's going to be a hard battle for him. Plus, he left and went to Dubai, which I don't think looks too good for him. So I think he's going to have a tough case here.
I don't think Dubai has nothing to do with it. A person like him, Dubai is like another borough. I mean, that's where everybody hangs out. He wasn't trying to run and become a prince and fade away. So I don't think that should be a conscience of guilt. But in terms of attempted murder, those people could have went outside to their car and came right back in. So sometimes the threat is continued. So I won't just conclude that it looked like he was safe at that point.
Van, I got to tell you, the guy's a flake. I was at the game, the Jet game, when he walked into the end zone and started doing a striptease, taking off his uniform, and then started whooping up the crowd, and then walked off the field when he was playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the guy's got some serious, serious issues, and this looks to me like he's going to have a lot of problems. But if I could just add one thing, tomorrow is Veterans Day, so everyone out there, please thank your veterans, hug your veterans, and just thank the world that we have these veterans, because that's what makes this country the great country we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well stated, Al. Jennifer Brant, we only have like 15 seconds here. Do you think his celebrity plays into this at all?
I think it could help or hurt him, Vinny, because people are focused on this. But, you know, as Al pointed out, I mean, you have some prior actions that he was involved in. I don't know. I think it could definitely influence this case.
All right. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brant, thank you all so much. And next time we'll see how the second date goes. We'll talk about that. In the meantime, when we return, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, she set out on a simple road trip with her 9-year-old daughter, but only one came home. Ashley Buzzard is under arrest and her daughter Melody is missing. Where is Melody? Tonight, we investigate.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. And what do we have? A report busted for prison wine? Oh, man, this is coming from TMZ. Diddy's sobriety took a detour in lockup this week. TMZ has learned that he was drinking behind bars and got in some trouble with prison officials. Sources with knowledge tell TMZ Diddy had some homemade alcohol in Fort Dix, the low-security prison where he's doing time. We're told the alcohol was made of Fanta, sugar, and apples, which inmates give 2 weeks to ferment into an alcoholic substance. Meanwhile, on X, at Diddy on X, an account run by his management, the rumors claiming Mr. Combs was caught with alcohol are completely false. His only focus is becoming the best version of himself and returning to his family. I hope that's true. I guess we'll find out soon. Take a look at your screens. Important. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Jocelyn Lizette Lopez, just 16 years old, missing from Columbus, Georgia, down near the Alabama border. Missing since November the 7th. Here's what you need to do. If you see Jocelyn, take a look at the picture. If you see her, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Columbus Police Department in Georgia. That phone number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Jocelyn to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.
There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.